Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar. We're with Alan Hinds today. Alan has literally influenced like probably, how many thousands and thousands of guitar players have passed through your auspices? Like 10,000?
I never thought about it that way, but maybe I hope, God, how many lives have I completely warped?
So if you're listening to something and you don't like it, it might be Alan's fault. If you're listening to something and you love it,
Exactly.
It might be Alan's fault.
It's not my fault. It is my fault.
It is your fault.
Well, that's funny because, I never thought about it that way, but I have a friend who teaches at Musicians Institute, and he's been there for 40. He's like one of the lifers. He's been there forever. And he was kind of down on his luck a couple years ago. And I thought about it as if it's a wonderful life with Jimmy Stewart. I said, look, man, you may think you're not doing much outside of school, but you've affected so many people's lives here at school.
Yeah.
I mean, so anybody who went to school knows this guy. I won't mention his name, but and that kind of helped him come out of his, but I guess it's that way to me. I never thought about myself that much of a teacher. Even though I've been doing open counseling there since 1986, when I graduated. But yeah, but it's a great thing. It's actually, teaching is very rewarding. When you find somebody who has gotten something out of something you said, or you might have, given them a certain different look at a theoretical problem, or just the hang. And it's a nice feeling to know you might have affected somebody's life in a positive way, whether it's, with your music or whether it's a teaching thing, of course.
Hell yeah, man. Hey, let me tell everybody about you. Alan's actually from Auburn, Alabama. He got exposed to blues and R&B at an early age. Imagine that in Alabama. Moved into jazz and fusion in his teens. He attended Berkeley, and then he left. After Berkeley, he went to L.A. to attend Musicians Institute, where he remained on staff, as he said, to the present. He's performed and or recorded with jazz and R&B luminaries, including Randy Crawford, Gino Vannelli, Patty Austin, Roberta Flack, Bebe and Cece Winans, The Crusaders, Bobby Caldwell, James Ingram, Marilyn Scott, Eric Marienthal, Boney James, and many others. Looking for more, Alan began recording his own music several years ago, all to critical acclaim by musicians and magazines worldwide. His 6 CDs are available on iTunes, Amazon, cdbaby.com, and on his website at alanhinds.com. That's ALLEN, Hinds, HINDS. He's also done clinics and masterclasses worldwide, concentrating on improvisational techniques, learning shortcuts, legato techniques, slide playing, as well as common problem solving for guitarists. He's also an active studio musician as well as a live performer, and he's written songs for Larry Carlton, Patty Austin, and loads of cable TV shows, including Duck Dynasty, Pawn Stars, Build It Bigger, and Sons of a Gun, just to name a few. Man, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And he's holding this SG guitar there that he's tearing up a few minutes before we got on the phone. So thanks, man.
No problem. Thank you.
Those potato chips look good, actually. I don't eat potato chips, but they look really good.
I drank too much last night, and tonight something salty and some sparkling water seems to.
Yeah, man, that'll fix it up.
It's good hangover food.
That'll fix it up. Hey, man, you grew up in Alabama, went to college in Massachusetts, and then after Berkeley, you decided you didn't have enough guitar, and you moved out.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the deal behind that?
I went back to Alabama after Berkeley. I couldn't really afford the whole thing at Berkeley, so I was only there 1/4, but I learned a lot.
Oh, okay. I thought you did a full thing at Berkeley, and I'm like, wow, that's.
No, I kind of wish I had, but my family was not really well off, and we saved up money to get me up there for 1/4. But I learned a lot. I mean, I hung out with a lot of European guys, and I always kind of fell into groups with the good players because I've always had a natural ear for guitar, so I got lucky and I was able to hang out with guys who were a lot better than I was, and they would, I'd be sitting there asking a million stupid questions, and one guy just turned to me one day and goes, some guy from, I remember a big guy with huge eyebrows from Russia, he turned to me and goes, he goes, just go figure it out, tear it apart and figure it out yourself. I was like, whoa. So he was right. There's a certain, I was kind of hoping that somebody would give me the one answer that I would, set me free. But I realized I had to just kind of go and kind of do it yourself, But after Berkeley, I kind of learned like basic tonal centers, and I played French horn in high school, so I kind of knew some stuff about harmony. My first day at Berkeley, though, I remember I somehow placed into a kind of a high harmony class, kind of advanced, and the teacher walks in and he looks around the room and he points me out. on the front row, and he goes, "Give me the notes in the C sharp minor 7-5 chord." And I just kind of froze, said, C sharp? That was my only best I could think of. And so this little Japanese girl next to me goes, C sharp EGB. Again, you went around the room and everybody just knew their shit backwards and forwards, you know? So that embarrassing moment might've been a kind of a landmark moment for me. Cause I just went back to my dormitory room and just really drilled and got, even though I didn't really know why D had 2 sharps in it, or I knew that, you know, the 6th degree of G was an E natural. I mean, I didn't really know why, but I just mathematically memorized it. And so within a week, I kind of knew a lot of the language that they were going to expose me to, you know, in the classes. And it was a huge, and that's actually one of the things I kind of push on my students is like, yeah, everybody, you know, in a certain respect, you learn the best way as a child would learn, just open to anything, and you just kind of play it and feel it. Yeah, that's nice. And I think we do that all our whole life. But at some point, and usually earlier the better, I think you need to like kind of hunker down and learn the basic theoretical stuff. I mean, even if it's just modes, you know, the melodic minor and diminished stuff can come later. But as far as just learning the way diatonic harmony works to kind of get a grasp on how that looks and how it feels and sounds is a big deal. And but I learned it in a couple of weeks. You know, I kind of memorized a bunch of stuff, and then it's that the theories and the explanations made a lot more sense.
Wow, I can't believe you memorized that in a week.
So, well, I mean, it's like learning, you know, we used to learn poems when we were in high school, like a Robert Frost poem, or we'd learn excerpts from some play, or we'd learn telephone numbers back before we had cell numbers. You know, you'd remember. It was like,
I remember those days.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of like that. I mean, it's really amazing how much you can really retain and learn. And once again, it's mathematical. So once you kind of learn the theory, then it's a matter of kind of counting, and that helps you with the intervals and stuff too. But I was only there for 3 months, and then I went back to Alabama, and then we had it. So we're talking 1978, and that was like a great year for like fusion, if you're into fusion music, because it was like everything was kind of blossoming right there. There was, whether it was Jean-Luc Ponty or early Alan Holdsworth or the Yellow Jackets or Chick Corea stuff. It was just a real fertile time for the combination of, you know, rock and blues and jazz together. And so being in a little university town, it was pretty progressive. You know, all my friends were like university professors' kids, and so they were all pretty smart. And you know, we were listening to Zappa, we were listening to Steely Dan, and tearing it apart. And we had a couple bands. That's a great bass player named Rob Alexander, who went on to play with Eric Johnson in the really early years. He sang on some of the early YouTube videos of Eric Johnson. He still is a great bass player and a great singer. He's moved to South Florida now. I think he works at a church doing some kind of choral group there in Lakeland, Florida.
Yeah, that's just between Tampa and Orlando. It's a halfway point.
And he was there for years. His name was Rob Alexander, and he was a great bass player. And I think he toured. He went to Nashville and toured like, I think, Hank Williams Jr. some gigs like that just to make some money, you know. But he was a great player, and so I was playing with him, and my soon-to-be brother-in-law, Jack Fitzpatrick, was our harmonic guru at the time, who understood theory really well, who understood jazz, had perfect pitch. He could hear any cluster of a Steely Dan chord and know exactly what it was, and so I learned so much from those guys. But we had a band, and we would do this weird combination of where we would do like a Earth, Wind and Fire medley, and then we'd do a couple Chick Corea songs, you know, and then we'd do like a Holzer song, and then a Zappa song, and then an Eagles medley, you know. So it was like this great combination of that kind of stuff.
Was the stuff like when you did the Eagles, was that just to bring all the people who didn't understand all the other shit you were doing, sort of like to relate to them? Hey, here's something for you guys who don't get the rest of this stuff.
It was to get gigs, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what
and this little artsy band we had down there, it was called Snapfinger.
This is in Alabama? In Auburn?
In Auburn. Then there was a band called Zany Murphy we had, and anyway, these kind of morphed into more money-making enterprises. We realized that the money to be made was really playing at universities all over the South. So we kind of changed our repertoire, but at the time it wasn't like, we didn't feel like we were selling out. We were just kind of changing, just going with the flow of things, and we wanted to get bigger gigs. So we had a semi truck that carried the light show around and roadies. I mean, it was like,
it's pretty impressive for a college band.
Well, I know, but it was, at the time, that was what everybody did back then. A band called Eli, I mean, we had like semi truck with big truss rods, and we had roadies that would set up all the stuff. We just come in and play like we were rock stars, you know. But we'd play spring break down in Destin, Florida, to like, you know, thousands of people in these big clubs. It was great fun. I mean, it was totally debauchery. I mean, like we were like, you know, 20-year-old kids, you know, doing drugs and drinking every night and partying till 4 or 5 in the morning. Reggae had just come out, so we were all going to these reggae clubs down in Florida on the beach, and it was just the most fun ever. You know, I wasn't really taking music that serious. It was more just having a good time being a kid. And then in my later 20s, I started to get more serious about, you know, about guitar. Like I started getting bored with that scene, and I actually have one kind of turning point. And I'm sorry if I'm jumping around. If you had a set of questions you wanted for me,
no, go ahead.
But I entered a competition in Guitar Player magazine, it was the Larry Carlton scholarship, and so I sent in a tape that was really horribly recorded on a little Fostex 4-track, which was high tech at that time, and Larry chose my song, so I got free MI. I got a free year. At the time, MI only offered 1 year. So I won the scholarship, and I was in Guitar Player magazine as the Larry Carlton winner.
Holy shit!
Scholarship winner, and I came out to MI in '85, and it was a great year to be at MI. I mean,
that is wild, man.
Who were in my class at the time? I mean, Jeff Buckley was a friend of mine. We used to play. I don't know if you know who Jeff Buckley is, but he's like one.
No, yeah. I know the other Buckley. I can't think of his name, but
no, well, his father was Tim Buckley.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I know Jeff Buckley.
So Jeff Buckley, Jeff Buckley had a song called Grace, a record called Grace. It's just fucking anyway. Before he went off on a solo thing, he was at MI doing. We used to just play standards every day. Jeff was like 10 years younger than me, so he was like 18. I was 28 at this time, but we would still all the good players would kind of hang together and so I'd see Jeff in a room. We'd sit there and play Giants. We did a couple concerts together at MI, and this was before he even sang at all. But he kind of found his calling after he left MI and moved to New York and started writing vocal songs. He was a great singer and great writer. He would have been a star, but he died pretty early on in a swimming accident after after they recorded their second CD in Nashville. Can you hear that noise?
Yeah. What is that? A little vacuuming?
Yeah, there's somebody outside blowing leaves. Maybe about 20 seconds he'll be gone from my window outside.
No, this is like washing your car and it's going to rain afterwards. That always happens, man. Like if we did this 3 hours earlier, they would have blew their leaves 3 hours earlier. That's just the way it worked. Let me ask you this. Was Mike Melendo, was he the editor of, it was before him, of Guitar Player? It was before his time.
I don't remember. I mean, I had entered the scholarship just through an advertisement they had in Guitar Player magazine, thinking I would never win, but I said, what the hell? So I sent in a tape and a little sad letter saying how I didn't have the money to go to MI, but I really wanted to. And my parents were so poor and I couldn't afford to go. It was one of those, I remember trying to butter it up as much as I could so I could get scholarship because I had no money. I was playing week to week. Just playing top 40 stuff. But that was one of the happiest days of my life, going to the mailbox and getting that, congratulations, you won a scholarship worth $2,700. That's how much MI cost for the whole year.
That's crazy, man. What is it now? Like 35 grand or something?
Yeah, something crazy like that.
Wow. So when you moved out to LA, what did you do for work? How did that go down?
Well, I was a student, so I had an older brother that helped me. He sent me money every month, who was one of my I'm getting a phone call here. My brother sent me money. My parents tried to help as much as they could. I had a part-time job working at a hotel, like the late shift, while I was a student. After I got out of school, it's funny, when I graduated from MI, or right before I graduated, they used to have these, at the end of the quarters, they'd have these little suggestion meetings where the staff would meet with the students. And Tommy Tedesco and Howard Roberts and Pat Hicks were there.
Wow.
And they talked to the student body and say, hey, what improvements can we make? We want to make this school better. And somebody stood up and said, I think Alan Hinds should be teaching here. And Tommy Tedesco said, who's Alan Hinds? So I introduced myself, and he gave me a job the next day.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so that's why I started getting on. That's why I got on staff there. Of course,
wow.
I started
what is the likelihood of the likelihood of any of these things happening? Like you submit a shitty recording and you win I mean, what's the likelihood of that happening? And then you go there and someone says, oh, I think Alan, I mean, what is that? What's the random likelihood of someone saying, oh, I think Alan Hinds should be teaching you? Okay, you're hired. I mean,
Well,
that's
everything, I guess, at the time I didn't really,
wild.
Getting the scholarship was a big deal. When I was at school, I mean, there were already guys who just graduated from school who were getting really famous. And I felt like I wish I'd been there a couple of years before. Frank and Bali, and Scott Henderson had just graduated from MI a couple of years before I did, and they were, of course, off playing with Jean-Luc Ponty and Chick Corea at that time. So I didn't even realize how lucky it was at the time, but it was. I mean, things kind of happen, and you don't know that you actually control any of that or not. But it just happened, and it was cool. So that was my first gig. So I didn't really. It helped me out because all of a sudden I had income, and I was teaching at the school where I went, and I knew all the guys there, and that, and I still teach there to this day. I used to do all the grunt work where I taught like private lessons, and I wanted to do a couple classes at one point, but I luckily started auditioning for bands then and got a lot of the auditions I went out for. A band called Hiroshima or Richard Elliott and Bobby Caldwell. So I ended up going on the road pretty quick. So I didn't really have to teach. I was making all of a sudden more money than I'd ever made, but going around the world playing with these great players. And,
and they left your teaching spot was like totally available to you when you came back.
Then I could always come back, and teach when I was in town. So it was like my day gig when I was in Los Angeles. So I was never the studio player like Steve Lukather's or Michael Landau's are. Those guys were doing, and there's kind of a handful of guys who do all the TV stuff out here in Los Angeles too. And they're the same guys who were doing it 30 years ago are doing it now. George Daring and John Goo, who are great players. These guys, they can sight read anything, and they can play mandolin, then they can play, bouzouki, and then they can turn and play, tenor guitar, which I can never do, all that kind of stuff anyway. And I was in the studio, I just kind of came to realize over the years that my calling was not in being able to recreate somebody else's music necessarily. It was more, I'm probably better off. What I do best is probably play my own songs and stretch out on like solos and make them kind of evolve. I think that's what I do best. I don't think I'm a studio. I'd always go into a studio session and they'd all say, hey, can you do that? Can you do that Landau thing? Or can you do that Steve Lukather thing? And I'd try to turn on my stereo chorus and I'd try to think of what they would play. And, through the years, I kind of figured out what you need to play to do sessions. I've gotten better at it. But those guys, they just, I don't know, that's a whole different level. Those guys who could, of course, everybody wanted what they did. Steve Lukather had the sound and the great timing, and Paul Jackson Jr., his rhythm playing is second to none. And those are those guys' specialties, I guess people call me more now just to do what I do. And that's probably solo, with the legato technique more than they call me to do a funky rhythm part or a wah-wah part.
But that's what you're happy doing, so it's a fit. It's like a win for everybody. I mean, if you can't do it, creatively, it's tough to do something you're uncomfortable doing.
Totally true. Yeah, totally. So I'm not complaining. I kind of wish if I had a regret, or if I wish I had done anything, it was like maybe I wish I would have moved out here sooner, or I would have practiced my sight reading a little more, or I would have I don't know. Everything's a learning experience and things happen for a reason. Of course, if I hadn't spent the 10 years goofing off in Alabama playing cover songs, I probably wouldn't have some things I have now. So who knows?
No, you totally wouldn't.
Yeah.
Talk about some of these. You've worked with some really cool people. Talk about like how you got the gig and maybe a cool story about working with them. Start with Roberta Flack.
Well, that was kind of part of a thing called the Colors of Christmas, which they started back in the early 90s. And they go around the country and it's like 4 principal artists. And then you do like their biggest hits and then you do Christmas songs. And it goes on for like 2 months around the Christmas season. And I think I may have done the first 2. I don't know, the 2 years or the 3 years that I did, the principal artists would be like Jeffrey Osborne, Peebo Bryce, and Sheena Easton, and Patty Austin, and Roberta Flack, or whoever. It was always different every year. So they would. So Roberta never I wouldn't say I ever played in her band. Like she never called me to go on a tour of her, but I did like 2 months of tours with her.
With the Colors of Christmas.
Playing her was really cool because she was. I had heard. she's one of the artists that I heard that could be a real diva and could be really hard to work with. But she was always really sweet to me. She used to come hang and she'd see me and she'd come and sit with me in the restaurant and stuff, So she was I always thought she was really personable and really warm and very cool. I remember one time she said to me, we had an orchestra date. And I mean, we always had we picked up like a local orchestra, whether we were in Lansing, Michigan or New York, we were like Carnegie Hall someplace. And right in the middle of the thing, she says, "Alan, honey, can you give me some more color on this one section?" And I figured she meant put a chorus pedal on it, And I did, "What color?" Okay, whatever. And I wasn't going to argue and say, "What do you mean color?" So I just said, "She must just want some chorus on it." So right then I kind of turned around. I was looking at my bag for my chorus pedal because I didn't have it set up at the time. I think I had my nylon string on it, so I didn't have a chorus. So I was going to try to patch it together, and then they started the song, and so I just kind of continued playing. And then we got through, and I hadn't done anything different. And she says, "Oh, Alan, it's beautiful, man." And I hadn't done anything different, So
that was a placebo chorus.
Yeah, exactly. Artists are like that. A lot of times they want to hear something different, and they don't really know how to tell you what it is. A lot of times it's nothing. It's usually their own feelings or insecurities or whatever about the music at the time, which I learned. That's definitely true working with Randy Crawford and Gino Vannelli, a lot of times. Now, Gino, on the other hand, Gino Vannelli he's one of the rare guys who really knows everything he's doing. Some guys are just naturally gifted. Like Randy Crawford is one of my favorite singers in the world, but she can't tell you that, you should be voicing this 13 chord differently. Right. She doesn't know how to say that or how to say, "Oh, it's a full diminished chord. So can you lower the seventh? Can you lower the, she doesn't know that. Gino knows all that. Gino, wow. Everything. So if you have like one note in the cluster that you're playing, which I wouldn't think it would matter, like just one half step in a diminished chord that, but he hears it. So he was a different cookie altogether in that he's like a tremendous musician, thinker and hearer of music and really particular about what he played. That was a very rewarding gig musically because it was really difficult to play. And he gave me a lot of chances to step out and play solos and stuff.
Do you know, I'm assuming you know Dean Brown?
Of course, yeah. I was talking to Dean. We had lunch last week, and we're considering doing a record together.
Because that would be a pretty good record, man.
We're so different the way we play, but we both get along. Whenever we hang, we always kind of have so much fun together. And he's an avid tennis player like I am too. So
that's right. Tennis. He told me that. Yeah, I interviewed him, and he toured with Roberta for quite a while.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, her gig was more, different gigs are different. People want different things. Her gig is more parts, playing, rhythm stuff to support her music. It's not about solos. Most of the gigs I tended to do better on is when I have a chance to stretch out and really play.
Well, that's what you like.
Of course. There's definitely a feeling of satisfaction you get when you are a supportive tool for a bigger machine, playing with a band and making it work, playing all the rhythm parts. I did a short tour with Bebe and Cece Winans. That was heavy Paul Jackson Jr., beautiful stuff. And that was, there's no solos on that, but I just played these really great rhythm parts. And that was great. That's rewarding too. It's not that I get bored. It's just that I always want to express myself a little bit more. Lately, actually this last week, I got called to play with Steve Perry. Journey. Really? Yeah, that was kind of cool.
What is he doing?
Well, nobody's really quite sure. He did a record last year, which I guess they're going to release. They're trying to keep that secret, so they're doing some video shoots, and they've been auditioning lots of different guitar players, or not really audition, just listening to the guys that they've heard about. So I went in there and learned all these old parts, and we got along really well. So I'm hoping that, I don't know that's going to turn into. Maybe nothing. Maybe they'll never call me back. But they call me one day and they call me back for a full day, which they had to change that day because they're doing a video shoot for their record. So he's doing a bunch of things right now, trying to figure out what his next step is going to be. He had some kind of surgery on his throat.
Yeah, I'd heard that
20 years ago, and he kind of dropped out. He didn't really sing for like 20 years or something, at all. But he's trying to get back into, so the songs we did were all the old classics, tuned down about a minor third.
All the old Journey classics.
Yeah.
Was it weird playing those?
Open Arms and Separate Ways and all those big hits. Great song.
Was it weird playing those? With not weird.
No,
was it weird playing those with him?
I actually had fun. You know, I look at people think I'm a jazz guitar player, but I kind of grew up. I mean, my earliest influences were like, you know, Eric Clapton and the Allman Brothers and Freddie King and James Taylor and Stevie Wonder. Those are this, and that's the older I get, the more I kind of gravitated back towards just songwriting. So to me, I get more of a thrill hearing an old Joni Mitchell song than I do. It's just as much fun, if not more, than hearing like an old Alan Holdsworth take or something that I just used to, you know, drool over and try to play every lick. You know, I get just as much. Hearing an old Beatles song is nostalgic and beautiful. It's just like nothing's as good as that. Combination of good lyrics and the music. Anyway, what was I talking about?
I was just talking about what you were playing with Steve Perry.
Oh yeah. So no, it was great from learning those songs. I was just learning real songs, and they're great for pop songs. They're the best. And there's always, you know. And the other day it's funny because we went into the first day of rehearsal or audition, I guess is what it was. And the first 40 minutes, we ended up doing a version of "Lift My Heart in San Francisco." That he's doing some kind of compositor where he's doing, you know, "When the Lights Go Down in the City," that song of his, which is about he's a Bay Area advocate, and then we played that song, and then we went into the Tony Bennett song, and it was like so we spent the first 45 minutes on that, and I said, hey, you know, Steve, I only have like 15 minutes left of my time. Can we do one of your songs that I actually rehearsed? So we did like one of his songs where I took a big long solo, and he was like totally loving it, you know. So so then they called me back for a full day, and then that got changed because of a video shoot. So I'm now kind of waiting for hopefully get a call back to do a full thing. I mean, I don't know if it'll happen, but it sure was fun. So yeah, I can't remember why I was telling you that, but this is what I'm doing right now, doing that and trying to work on a new CD.
Very cool, man. So Auburn, Alabama, you're originally from there. What was your childhood like?
Well, it wasn't unlike many others in that my dad was quite the alcoholic, and he was never really abusive to us. He just wasn't really around that much. So I spent a lot of time with other families.
Kept his alcoholism to himself.
Well,
that's not. Yeah, that's usually uncommon.
You know, he like never beat us, or he was just not very responsible. Wasn't really there probably when we could have used him.
Yeah.
But so I was grew up kind of a mama's boy in that respect. But I just kind of grew up used to that. So I just kind of ignored him, and my mom was more of a guiding factor for me, you know, philosophically or spiritually, whatever. You know, more like her, more of a kindred spirit with her. And then I had a lot of really great friends to this day. They're still my close friends that I had when I was, 14 years old. Sue Robella's girl, I know she's a lawyer in Boston, and we talk every 6 months or something like that. But we don't miss a beat. It's like we've been close. We're like, she's closer than some of my family members are, right now. But
did you have family still back there?
Yeah, I have a brother who conducts the Montgomery Symphony Orchestra.
Oh wow.
His name is Tom Hinds, and he's kind of a big wig in Alabama. I have a sister who had a restaurant a long time in New Orleans, and she runs a bed and breakfast now down in New Orleans called Kate and Dave's. And I've got a brother in Atlanta, another brother who's in Uganda now doing something for the government, building some kind of embassy down there. I have a little sister who lives in Auburn who works at the university.
Wow, so there's three girls, 4 boys?
There were 7 of us to begin with.
Holy crap, man.
His little brother who was closer to died of cancer a few years ago.
Come on, Alan. 7 kids? I mean, I think your dad may get a pass on the alcoholism thing.
Be fruitful and multiply.
I got 3, and I'm thinking I should have been an alcoholic.
You will be soon, right?
No, they're all done. I'm on the 5-yard line. I'm really it's over now. Okay. We got through it. Wow.
So
that's a
lot. I mean, I grew up in the family, always the cool thing about it is like I got introduced to like some really cool music when I was a kid. Well, my older brothers and sisters would bring home Sam and Dave or Hendrix records or, the early Beatles stuff. I remember being a kid living in 1961 where I was like 5 years old, sitting cross-legged in front of the stereo when everybody had gone to sleep, just listening over and over and over again to Rubber Soul, by the Beatles or first Meet the Beatles records. I remember just the way it looked and the way it smelled and the way it sounded when you put it on the little turntable. It was just like that was like the happiest. I mean, couldn't get any better than that. And so yeah, that's the one advantage. Of course, oversized clothes. I always got the hand-me-down clothes from the older brothers. So the jackets that had the big shoulders that were looked like I was wearing shoulder pads. But
that kind of stuff, I think, like
big
that's
towns are cool. But when I moved to Alabama, we moved down there. I actually, my older brothers and sisters had all moved out because there was a span of like 4 or 5 years between me and my older sister. So they had all moved out and they were in college. So I was the oldest, and I ended up hanging out with I had a close group of friends. About 5 or 6 of us that we would just hang out, and although it was Alabama, it was still a university town, so it was fairly progressive in that we were listening to Emerson, Lake and Palmer, we were listening to early Hendrix, and we were doing LSD, and we were going to see the Allman Brothers live at the Coliseum, and the university brought people like James Taylor and Little Feat. Little Feat was one of my favorite bands, still is to this day. They don't get enough credit at all for how great they were.
Yeah,
songwriters, players, singers, everything. So that kind of stuff was it was the right place, right time. Those are good years to be coming up a guitar player. That's when everything was kind of blossoming. Your fusion, and if you had any ear for harmony, when Steely Dan came out, forget. Like, it's like really mind blowing shit, and then all the fusion stuff that was just great, that just kind of lost its way along the way and became something more technical and less heartfelt, it seems like.
You know what? I think you're 100% right about that, because that's how it seems how fusion is. Because I remember when fusion first came out as a kid, I used to enjoy listening to it. Like, you listen to Jean-Luc Ponty, you mentioned, and I don't really have a palate for it now, because it for me anyway, it's fairly stoic, and it's, I don't really feel much.
Maybe, it's kind of easy to, it's because it had harmonic, how can I say this? Because it has like harmonic depth to it, and because you can learn that, and you can learn music theory without any sense of melody or a sense of really songwriting. I mean, I know a lot of guys who are just technical players who can run the scales, but they can't really say anything. So maybe that's what happened. Maybe there's like a fruitful period of your life where you write, and you're writing from the heart, and it's melodic, and it's based on songs like we grew up with. And then when they run out of ideas, okay, they don't have any of those ideas anymore, but they still have the technical ability. So that part, that part kind of takes over. Maybe that's a slow evolution with everybody through time. Because even now, I mean, when I listen to there's a lot of, I still teach at MI, so there's like some players who come through sometimes who are incredible. I mean, technique wise, they would have been, if they were around back, 30 years ago, they would have been playing with Chick Corea and with Jean. These kids are great because they learn from the first moment, learning stuff on YouTube. They learn these correct, technically perfect, correct, and they've been doing this. They can just, the technical ability is just amazing to me sometimes. But what they're lacking is any life lessons. Don't seem to really come together. They haven't really lived life yet, because they're like 20 years old and they don't really know what it's like yet. Or they miss the whole musical part of it, the melody part, which is what I learned a lot from listening to Joni Mitchell and James Taylor early on, is that or Steve Winwood I loved, or Stevie Wonder, is that these guys could, just on one turn of a phrase, one little melody is all you needed just to make you well up and want to cry. It is emotive and really emotional. And I miss that in a lot of new music. It just seems really genetically engineered these days more than it comes from anything that's real to me. I mean, it's still out there, I think. I just think it's harder to hear. I think there's so much of it than, I'm sorry if I'm jumping around here. I had a lot of coffee. But there's guitar used to be really special. If you played guitar back in 1976, it was a pretty special thing. Not many people owned a guitar. If you pursued it, you really had to want it, because you had to really go looking for a good guitar, looking for the right sound and practice. And now it's almost like a Frisbee. Everybody has a guitar in their house. Every family goes to Walmart and buys a Fender starter pack for their kids. Yeah. So it's like, it's less of a special thing to me. And I can hear that in what comes out. But, having said that, there's every now and then I'm totally surprised when I hear somebody who's like really wonderful, young players. Blake Mills is the young guy who's become a top producer in LA. He produces Alabama Shakes and John Legend. He's a phenomenal guitar talent. And I just hear him, he can play two chords and just make it sound like a symphony. He just knows how to connect things. He has great time. There's a band called Knower, Knower, which are some friends of mine who are like I shouldn't say young kids, but they're in their 30s and they're doing like really progressive cool stuff.
You could say young kids, man. You have to say young kids.
I'm getting old. But anyway,
sorry.
So I don't know if I'm contradicting myself. I just think there's the whole idea of fusion, mainstream fusion, has just it kind of lost its way, and maybe the smooth jazz didn't help things either. Smooth jazz pretty much destroyed a lot of stuff for me too. I played with a lot of those guys in the early smooth jazz days, from Boney James, Richard Elliott, to Brian Culbertson, all these kind of guys, and these guys really. A lot of them, some of them will, a lot of them really think they're going to be in the history books next to John Coltrane. And they're just not, because the smooth jazz stuff is like really harmonically, it's pretty simple stuff. It's not even about that. It's more like instrumental R&B is what it is, without the lyrics. And I don't know, to me, a lot of R&B without the lyrics is nothing but, it doesn't really mean as much. Anyway, so the smooth jazzing kind of watered things down to the point where, is this good? Is this good? I don't know. It's a personal thing, and I don't really want to go there and criticize those guys too much, but
no, a lot of smooth jazz. My take on smooth jazz, because I've never really got a vibe for it, and no disrespect against anybody who's played it, but a lot of it is like it's music that you have sex to when you don't really care about the other person.
Why would you expose them to that music if you love them?
It's like if you're not into it, it's like you put it on and it's like sex music, but it's like not if you're really connected and you want to get some good shit, your mojo going.
Yeah, it was a perfect storm in the time in the 80s. I'm sorry, like the late 80s, when everybody got a computer and everybody could find drum grooves, and the guys right out of high school or college could play saxophone pretty well. So they could put put 3 or 4 chords together on a sequencer, and all of a sudden they sounded like Kenny G. And a lot of them, that's exactly what they did. They didn't, I worked with a lot of these guys, so I know for a fact that a lot of these guys don't have the harmonic knowledge that a jazz musician should have. So how dare you even call it jazz? I mean, it's not jazz. I mean, if you're playing a 12-bar blues in the key of F, God damn it, I want to hear, on that chord, I want to hear the 7th chord. These guys just play. These play a pentatonic scale, but when it goes to that, when it goes to like 6th chord, man, I want to hear it. I want to hear the chords outlined.
Yeah,
that tells me that you have enough respect for that whole art form, that you've studied it. It's like a painter, I mean, no matter how simple you might think a Mondrian painting is or something like that, it's like it may look simple, but these guys have gone through the ropes, and they understand what Van Gogh and Rembrandt were doing, even though it may not look as hard, they understand it, and it comes through in their art form anyway. These guys, when I hear like some of the smooth jazz, I know from working with these guys that they're very sophomoric in their harmonic structure and their writing. Although they're great guys and they have great family people and they can be great people and they may be funky, that may be all cool and true, but at the end of the day, they're not really saying much on the world stage to advance anything musical in my. Hey,
you got 25,000 streams on Spotify, so that's all that counts.
Exactly.
Hold on a minute. Let me ask you this: teaching wise, what are some of the more interesting students that have come through your ranks that my listeners would know?
Well, Toshi Inagi was a student who came through back in the 80s, who does the Jimmy Kimmel Show. He's a great player. He plays a lot of people, goes to Japan, plays big rock concerts, tours with the big pop acts there. Justin Derrico from Pink.
Yeah, man, I had Justin on the show. He's a great kid.
He was great.
Yeah. Wow, you taught Justin.
Yeah, but there's a lot of those guys. I mean, do I teach them? I don't know. They always say I did, but when they're that talented, they kind of already know what they're doing. It's like
no, he got a lot out of his experience at MI. He got a ton. He really enjoyed that, and he got a lot. I mean, you could listen to his interview. Yeah. He really enjoyed that experience. Yeah, and when he got out, it was. I remember he was talking about his auditions. It was daunting for him because he was like he had to put all this stuff to use, but he really got a lot out of it.
Yeah, I think he's talked about that. I've seen his interviews where he talked about a few of his teachers he liked, and But I guess my point is there's like he and Toshi, I mean, and there's been some other guys too, I can't think right off the bat. But the one thing they had in common when they came through school is they all had really good time, number one, which is like, which is a big deal, which I talk about a lot in my masterclasses, my seminars, because, guitar players tend to rush. It's a natural thing. I don't know if it's a coordination thing between the right and left hand trying to make music on an instrument that's a little bit hard to play sometimes, but it's that's a common problem. And then what those guys both had when I first heard them play was that their time was really good. And they could play two notes and make it. I mean, if you've ever sat with a computer and recorded yourself, you know how much difference the feel can be if you just smudge the note you just played back and put it behind the beat as opposed to being in front of the beat. It makes a huge difference emotionally in the way it feels. And these guys kind of had it naturally. And I kind of knew when I first heard Justin, and I said, oh, he's already ready to go. I mean, he probably picked up some theoretical stuff and maybe some technique stuff. But I think he was kind of already a developed player when he got there. He was already the hot guy at school.
He's a very, very sweet guy too, man. He's a very, very nice, kind person.
Yeah, I love Justin. He's a nice guy.
Wow, that's interesting.
So yeah, I kind of think I had one guy that was I'm pretty forgiving, and I try to see the good points of everybody. I mean, I know there's some other teachers at school who are pretty hard on their students. If you can't play giant steps right out of the bat, they'll say, "Get out of my room." But I like to try. I've had some examples of students. There's one Japanese student named Jorichiro Natori, who was he was like kind of an effeminate, kind of like a small little kid. He was really shy. He'd sit in the corner and just listen to me play all the time. And I didn't think he could really play, but I let him stay because he was a sweet kid, and I could tell he was listening to everything. And then he finally opened up and he kind of blossomed into this like really great guitar player. And he moved back to Japan. I think he works for Yamaha now doing transcriptions. But there was a great example of somebody where if you had like had him play early on, you see him, you might think he couldn't play at all. So I've just come to, everybody has potential. Everybody has something to offer. So I'm never critical of somebody unless if they're beating themselves up, like if they play for me, they make a face and they go, "Oh, I suck. I stop them. I say, "You don't do that anymore. That's nothing. You don't even have to practice that. Just don't do that anymore." Because, everything's connected and any kind of negative energy is bad.
Yeah.
Or I'll stop them fast and say, "Your time sucks. You need to work on your time. You need to pat your foot or do something in time. You need to dance with your music. You need to go out and, date a Brazilian girl for a while. You need to do something to improve your time.
You're too white."
Yeah. So yeah, that's there's things like that teaching those are like common problems that I see. But usually I can spot the good players usually pretty much right off. It's a kind of an attitude, way they're listening. And some of them you can tell they're not listening at all. They don't get it. And and those guys you never hear from again, really.
You've been doing this a good long while. What, if you, as a musician, if you had to go back and give the younger version of you some advice that would have made your life easier, what is that advice that you would have given yourself, or to avoid some mistakes, or just,
Well, that's hard to say because, you think about it and you figure like I wouldn't be here had I not made the mistakes I made.
Yes, correct.
The one thing one thing I'll give myself kudos for is that as a person, I've always tried to, learn from my mistakes. I mean, sometimes it takes me longer, but I've always tried to be aware of personality, little defaults. We all have them, but I see, or I'll be critical of something like my brother or sister will do, and then I'll see that same characteristic in me. I go, "Oh God, I do," So I try to change best I try to make a conscious effort to be a better person on a daily basis. There's some things maybe I could have done faster. I kind of wish I had started recording my own music a lot sooner. That's one mistake I think I made. I think and I try to give this advice to any students, is that, write music, because that's really where you develop, when you actually have to sit down and compose a song and make it sensible, make a bridge that makes sense, and make a chorus that lifts, and make an ending that's a concise ending, that kind of stuff. You learn a lot about what you can do and what you can't do. You learn a lot. And then the process of putting the music together in a studio with the right combination of musicians, that's a big deal too. Finding the right guys. You learn how to work with other people. You learn who you work with, and you learn, like, some guy you thought was a great player he has his shortcomings here and there. You just learn a lot about yourself and other people and how to work with them, and then getting all recorded, how you're arranging chops, and then you've got to, like, get it all mixed down correctly. And then that's a whole learning process. That whole thing is a big learning curve. And then, even doing the artwork, making it represent what you want, and then putting the songs in the right order. And then, having the balls to, like, give it to somebody and believe in it enough where you're not embarrassed, or you can, like, where you will get it out there and you can live with that. All that stuff is really life changing, and it's all, like, really good lessons to learn about yourself.
Yeah.
And people don't really think about that much, but the whole process of doing your own original stuff takes a lot out of you. You're exposing yourself a lot to the world, and boy, along the way, you just learn a lot of great lessons, I think. So yeah, if something I would have done differently, I would have maybe started writing songs when I was 20 instead of when I was 40. I really didn't start doing anything of my original stuff until I was, well, maybe even later than that. Maybe like 45 years old before I even did my first record.
Interesting.
So that's one thing. I mean, I wish I could sight read better. I wish I'd done a little more classical music. I wish my harmony was a little bit deeper. But then I think if I'd done that, then I wouldn't have been sitting there jamming on Jeff Beck songs so much. So, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. I mean, my only goal in life really now is to have a house in the country, which I would love to escape to. Because the older I get, the less.
Which country?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure. Anyone but this one. No, I'm kidding. I love America. I'd like to have a house actually back in Alabama, where I'm from. I love the countryside down south.
Probably a hell of a lot more affordable there than where you're at now, I would imagine.
It's more affordable, but plus, I grew up there, so I just remember those summer afternoons, or those kind of balmy afternoons where it rains every day there, and then it clears up, and everything has a great smell to it and feel to it. That's just, I don't know anywhere else in the United States that's like that. I love greenery. I love the food down south. I love the people down south. I mean, they're a little scary with the southern accents, but I grew up with them, so they don't bother me. I think
it's a much more friendlier vibe, for sure. As a guy, I grew up in New York City, so I was one of those guys that was kind of myopic when I first came down to Florida, thinking, when you grow up in New York, you're very ethnocentric. You think the rest of the world is not as good as you, and you learn that that's 100% dead wrong, just because someone has a different accent, or you learn you're not the center of the universe, and everybody has a value, and I've come to really enjoy the laid back pace of Southerners. It's just very easy to get along with for the most part, Yeah,
it's great. It's really easy to be really kind of to wall off your world and think this is all there is to it. And
very easy.
My cable went down, so I'm really unhappy today, or whatever. And you get caught up in these little, like, day-to-day things. When that was a great thing about Anthony Bourdain. He just passed away, of course, which is really totally sad, because he was like a guy, much like any artist or like many musicians I know. He was always searching, and he was curious. So he was always going to strange places that made him feel different and think differently. And that's one thing we don't do enough, is kind of experience, walk in other people's shoes. And that's really important. Like he said more people in America should own passports. And it's really true, because there's just so, and even the difference between Alabama and California. I mean, look, California, I love living in Laurel Canyon where I'm at, but it's not the feeling of community or family like I kind of feel when I go to Alabama. It's not a good old person's town, Los Angeles. I don't think it's a good place to grow old. There's no place to really walk around for 30 minutes where you just can walk after shop, or ride your bike out in the country and be at a lake. I don't know. It's just not that kind of. It's more of this big tumultuous.
You got
confusing.
Difficult. Let's get the word. Use a different word. Difficult.
Turning machine of like all these different people trying to do different things with life, and it's creative in some ways, but it doesn't feel relaxed or very comfortable. If you go to Rome, Italy, that's a great place where you see people, old and young people, walking around arm in arm and enjoying life, sitting at it and taking, enjoying a cup of coffee or a glass of wine out by a big fountain in a big plaza someplace and looking at the statues or the parks. It's I don't get that feeling here. Everybody in Los Angeles is always busy trying to make it. Not without a charm. But as I get older, I kind of think back to my my roots in Alabama, and I could see myself living, maybe having a place here still, but living back there at some point. Also,
it's funny when you said that. My wife is from the UK, and I guess maybe, I don't know, a long time ago we went there on one of our trips, and way up north at like a place that I don't even know what, like they sell scones and coffee and tea and like a little cafe or, little,
right.
But it was in the country, it's a thatched kind of thing. And I remember sitting outside, we were just sitting outside and we saw this really old couple, like hand in hand. And I never forget this picture. I have a photo of them. They were just so damn relaxed. And it was a place like that. It was a smaller town, like what you're talking about. So I understand what you're saying. That is a nice, stress-free environment.
Not only that, but, in America, we kind of think, we have preconceived notions of what people live like in other countries. I think most people if you ask the average person what life is like in Iran, they'd probably think people are living in tents and camels or something. Who knows what they think, but, when you travel a lot, when you get out and when you just realize that everybody is exactly like you are.
Yes, 100%.
They're just like, they're trying to make the best for their kids, and they're trying to make a living. And, places like Iran, Iraq, or really not Iraq, but Iran are like totally modern. And they're as modern as you could think you're in a part of Los Angeles and parts of Tehran,
Yeah.
So it's, it's wonderful. Everybody should travel.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I got off on that, but,
it's funny. I interviewed, as you probably know, there's a big musical. Sweden is a hotbed. It's a very prolific place for music, especially guitars. And I was talking to a guitar player there, and he's a very balanced guy. He spends a lot of time with his family. Works really hard. He's involved in a bunch of projects. Great fucking player. And I said, "Man, you're so balanced. Were you always like that?" He goes, "It's not that I'm balanced." He said, with all due respect, I think you guys in the States culturally are a little different. You guys grow up where it's all about work, 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 work. We just don't grow up like that. You're expected to relax. It's okay to take vacations. It's okay to not stop work. It's okay to stop work when whatever the stopping time is. And it's okay if the shit doesn't get done. Yeah. And I was like, that's a lot healthier.
They enjoy life a lot. There's a lot of simple things they have that they might take for granted. When I was just in Italy, for instance, I was thinking, everything as a liberal, the things that I strive for here in the United States, that I get involved politically with is like, is free healthcare, schools paid for, that kind of stuff. And these are things that these guys have over their lives, which that takes a big amount of pressure off your life. You can, your kids, your kid has some kind of, needs some kind of operation for something, some medical procedure, it's not going to put you in the poorhouse. And these people have great health care. Their schools are all paid for. Yeah, the taxes are higher, but they really get a lot of stuff for it. So I just think it makes for a better life around that. The Swedish people I know, I've been to Sweden quite a bit. I've had the good fortune of playing with Randy Crawford for so many years. And plus I have some fans over there. So I've had a chance to go over to Norway and Sweden pretty often. And they speak better English than most Americans do. They learn from such an early age. They're really well educated. Their education system is great. Their medical stuff is all taken care of, and they live life. There or Spain, they'll in the afternoon, they'll take off and have a glass of red wine and call the rest of the day off in a second, and at the end of, 20 years, that's a nice life, not having
those are the memories that you're going to have. Not like, man, I'm so happy I stayed late working. And I'm guilty of that of myself.
My conservative, we kind of grew up that way. My conservative friends will say, "Oh, but then you have all these freeloaders living off the state," and I guess that's true to some extent. But I think most people have enough pride where they don't want to. Nobody really wants to live off of somebody else their whole life. There might be a few guys, but there's a few guys here who do the same thing. There's this, for the most part, having those life obstacles out of the way makes your life a lot easier and smoother. And I see it everywhere where I travel. Of course, the whole nationalism thing in the world right now is pretty popular with Trump and Salvini and Italy, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the world right now as far as that. But that's hopefully that'll work its way out in a few years. I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So back to guitar.
Man, let's talk about gear for a few minutes. I know you have no shortage of guitars. What's your go-to? You're usually playing a Tele, right? Is that your go-to?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through periods where I've been in love with. I had a nice *56 Stratocaster I played for a couple of years, pretty much exclusively. But the last few years, I have a '52 Esquire. That's one of my prized possessions. It's just the pickup is pretty hot. It's almost like a lap steel pickup, a '52, where the pickups they wound them really hot. But it was a certain kind of magnet, I think, that they use. But it's just it's nice and sparkly and beautiful, and I don't need two pickups on it.
Do you have that close by?
Yeah.
Can I see it? I mean, I've seen it on videos. There he goes. It's literally right.
Now,
wow.
I put an extra pickup in the neck because there was already a slot for it in this old body.
Okay.
And I wanted a more versatile guitar when I went on the road with Randy Crawford, so I actually made it into a Telecaster. But usually, and I'll probably this week I'll take that pickup out of it. It sounds a little different with just one pickup. When the Esquire is there's less magnetic pull on the string, it has a little more zing to it.
How long have you had that guitar?
Oh, I've had it for a few years now. I kind of pieced it together because it's, the neck itself was about $4,000. I bought it online. It's you can see how well worn it is.
It's so pretty, man. That's genuine wear,
yeah,
man.
It looks like what Fender Custom Shop tries to do to make their guitars look old. This is what it should look like.
That is so, it's so cool, man.
Yeah. So through the years, I just kind of kept looking on eBay, and one thing I found, 1952 bridge with a pickup for $2,500 or something like that. At the time, I could afford that, so I said, "Oh, that'll be another step close to putting because these guitars were all assembly line guitars anyway. I mean, they're put together like washing machines, where it came down a conveyor belt and little lady smoking a cigarette would screw the neck on the body. So I have no qualms as far as buying pieces and putting them together. Sometimes, well, in this case, it really worked out really great. And then the body I found about a year later. It had been refinished, but it still had the Tadeo Gomez. I put the guitars together, his signature in the pocket.
From 50. Let me see that. Can I see the headstock on that for a second? Please. Wow. Yeah, really cool, man.
Can you see it, okay?
Yeah. Very cool Fender Esquire. That is so cool looking, man.
That's the original one. And that's a go-to guitar just because it's got that Ted Green, chimey, magical sound to it. If you know what I'm talking about. That's, some Telecaster. I have another couple of the Telecasters that are really country and really funky. They're really when you put it in between the pickups, it's really that funky Tele sound that we know from Earth, Wind and Fire or from real country stuff. This guitar is not that. It's it's more of it almost sounds like a really nice humbucker pickup back there.
I've seen you play that a lot. When you bend, your bending technique is really interesting because many times it almost sounds like you're rolling the volume, but I watch. I'm like, "What is he rolling the volume?" And you're somehow impacting the the volume when you're bending. I don't know what the hell that's why you're you and I'm me. But
that's weird. I don't know what that is. The only thing I can think is maybe it's I have a real light right hand. Unless I'm playing, if I'm digging in and playing like a blues thing. But most of the time when I play, my right hand just barely scrapes the string. So most of the tone is generated from my fretting hand, I think.
Well, it was on. I'll tell you what it was on. And anybody listen, if you want to really listen to some nice Alan Hinds stuff, look up on YouTube. You're playing with a woman. You played "Ode to Billy Joe."
Oh yeah,
that was beautiful, man. That was so nice.
Yeah, she's awesome. Accent is a dear friend.
Yeah,
she's an interesting lady. She had her own record deal back in the 70s. She was one of those. If you ever saw the movie 20 Feet from Stardom,
I have it, but it's on my queue.
Yeah, she's one of those background singers. And they mentioned her, and she had her 3-record deal in Capricorn, she then after that, she toured with. She was an ICAT with Ike and Tina Turner, and she was.
Man, she must have some stories from that.
She's got some stories. hanging out with Jimi Hendrix and Buddy Miles, and then touring with she did a lot of stuff in Los Angeles. She sang on Lowell George record, Little Feat. She sang on Madonna records.
What's her name?
Max Ann Lewis.
Max Ann Lewis. Yeah, but it's Maxayn, I think, right?
That's right. Max Ann, yeah.
And Max Ann Lewis. Great. What a great, and you're playing on that, man. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. It was really, really enjoyable because I picked up my guitar. I was trying to figure it out, and I was like, no, let me just enjoy it. This is a moment to listen.
Some guys, there was like one guy, and I never really listen to myself play. I can't really listen to, I hate, it's like hearing my voice on a tape recorder. It just doesn't sound like me when I listen back to stuff, so I don't. But there's somebody comment on YouTube. They said, yeah, man, you're just noodling a lot. And that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like I'm just playing a whole lot. I'm just playing a lot of like just little nondescript little patterns all over the place.
I didn't get that.
A lot of people like that a lot. A lot of people
yeah, it's gorgeous. Are you kidding me? That was beautiful.
We love playing it live. It's really fun to play live. That song. It's nostalgic for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Old enough.
Yes.
Plus, it's just a great progression. It's a great blues song.
Totally, man. I really dug that.
Everything.
So, okay, let's go back to guitar for a minute. 52 Esquire. What's the next go-to?
Yeah. Well, the next go-to, I have a 54 Les Paul Custom. I'll show that to you too. When I bought it.
So it's a reissue of a 54.
No, it's a real one.
Oh, it's a real 54. But you said custom. Okay, the custom meaning it has the
tuxedo inlays, and it's
okay. It's wow, holy shit, but
the old ones, like the 54. The difference, number one, they don't have a maple top. It's just mahogany and ebony, which is a great combination.
That is
this
gorgeous.
one, because it's as old as it is, has the 17-degree headstock slant. The angle of the headstock, because the later customs, like in the 60s, that most of us know, the other vintage ones, which are they started again in 68 or 69, had a 14-inch. So the tension feels a little bit different, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
Are those
PAFs?
These are humbuckers. It was routed. That's the only way I could really afford it, because this guitar would be worth a lot of money if they had all original. But what attracted me to it was the wood and the wood and the wood. I mean, the frets, the neck is unbelievably great.
It's beautiful. Those big. What are those called? In the frets, the inlays. The inlays. They're big giant squares. It's really gorgeous. It's a black. Black guitar, black Les Paul.
Yeah, it just sounds great, and it's just a combination of because the SG has a special sound to it because it's all mahogany. So it's a little bit like that, and there's a little more mid-range to this guitar. It has a little more honk to it, because there's no maple top on it, and the ebony fretboard gives it a zing, a certain sustain. Yeah, this is one of my favorite guitars that I've been playing the last year. When I was doing the Steve Perry thing, he was freaking out on this guitar. He said, "Man, when you leave today, leave that guitar." And it's really, it was perfect for the old Journey stuff, for the rock stuff.
Is that heavy? It must be heavy as hell, no?
It's not that heavy. I mean, it's about maybe 9 pounds, 9.5 pounds. So it's not so heavy.
Not that bad. Yeah.
But it's not like the 70s, which were 12 and 15 pounds. It's nothing like that.
Really cool looking.
It's all beat up in it, but it's it just sounds great.
I love ebony fretboards, man. They feel great.
Yeah. And
what would be number 3?
Oh man. Well, I still have an old Stratocaster. It's kind of mutt parts, but the pickups are 1956 pickups. And it's just if I need a good Strat sound, that's usually what I use. The company Exotic makes a nice guitar. Now that when I go on the road and I want to be safe with my guitars, I take
That's what Dean plays, I think, if I remember correctly, right?
That's right. That's why we're thinking about doing a thing together, doing an Exotic thing.
Yeah.
But this is a Strat that's pretty much just.
That's a pretty guitar, man. It's a Sunburst Strat.
Yeah, the neck was given to me in Sweden. I did a masterclass, and they gave me this one. They had these old vintaged, these kind of relic necks, but not overdone. They were just sprayed and they looked right. And they had this one, the guy, his quarters on, and I saw it. I said, "That looks like a great neck," and he just gave it to me. So I put it on his body, and I had these pickups are from a 1956. So this guitar sounds great.
And what is the body from?
The body's MJT, the company from Missouri or wherever that makes relic stuff. I just found a really nice Sunburst.
It's really pretty.
It's a pretty guitar, and I've experimented so much with guitars that through the years, I kind of feel the majority of the tone is the neck number one. I think the neck is a big tone factor in the overall tone of a guitar, and then the pickups, the electronics, of course. The body, I think, comes third to me. I mean, the body, there are general things the body weight does to a guitar. I think the really light, like ash bodies, like Alan Holdsworth and Scott Henderson light, make for a very thick solo distortion sound up high. There's really big round, like violin, big sound like a saxophone. Down low, it mushes out. Those guys don't really do that stuff. They don't really play like, heavy metal, cranky stuff. Or an example of a heavy guitar is like when you hear like metal played, like just that real chunky Les Paul sound down low, and up high like Paul Jackson Jr. where it's real pointed. Everything seems to be like the fundamental tone is really pointed and defined with heavier woods, generally speaking. So that's what the bodies do to it. But I think the overall tone of this is a Esquire that you saw that's pretty much all original now. The neck sounds so good. I had that on like 4 different bodies before I found the original body for it, and it sounded great on all of them. I mean, everyone sounded just drop dead gorgeous. So I'm a firm believer.
That's what's driving your decision about what the value of the neck as it relates to tone.
Yeah, I think that's I think if you want to get into a good cheap guitar, if you want to not spend like $10,000, go out and spend $2,000, $3,000 and get an old Fender neck that's aged and it's all dried out and it's been played, and that's a lot of it too. Is a guitar that's been played a lot is going to have, I think, more tone in general. But then put that on, start there and work your way into a good old instrument. Because when you get an old one that's been played a lot, then it's a real subtle difference from a good guitar, but the subtle difference you can't get any other way. You know what I'm saying? It's a small difference, but it's an important difference if you can find a vintage instrument.
That's usually in anything. It's the subtleties that make you go from good to great. It's not major things. It's kind of like subtle things that you do, in whether it's business or music. Right. Desert Island Discs, man. If I asked you to pick your top 3 Desert Island discs in no particular order, and knowing it could change tomorrow, just like knee-jerk reaction for today, what would you want? Kenny G.
Well, yeah, okay. Let me see everything I played on. There's one songwriter, a guy named Willis Allen Ramsey.
Who's that?
Who not many people know, but he had only one record, but he totally influenced a lot of songwriters like Sean Colvin. Well, there's that album, Sean Colvin, The Few Small Repairs, is one of my favorite records. Just the production, the guitar parts. There's really only maybe one guitar solo or 2 guitar solos on the record, but the guitar parts. He's getting John Leventhal from New York, a producer, and he's married to Roseanne Cash now. Did this Grammy-winning record with Sean Colvin called A Few Small Repairs. And even I was on the road with Gino Vannelli, I was sitting next to the keyboard player who was a heavy jazz guy. And we had headphones on. We were sitting on a long trip someplace. And we sat there and we just both melted and just listened to that record, just like mesmerized for the first note to the end, the last note. Every song is great. Every lyric is great. Every performance is great on that record. And it's not even, you can learn a lot from it, but it's like real subtle guitar stuff. It's like listening to a George Harrison guitar part. There are parts you can't really play the song unless you play that part.
Yeah.
Fusion stuff you can get away with wanking off doing whatever. But on these pop songs, you kind of got to, they become an integral part of the composition. And this one album, I would say, okay, maybe A Band of Gypsies. It's one of my favorite records ever. I always love Jimi Hendrix and stuff, but the one where it really grooved and where I just kind of, I go crazy every now and then, certain moments in that record is the Band of Gypsies, the live stuff with Billy Cox and Buddy Miles.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's with Buddy Miles, right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I mean, there's just some moments where he's just playing rhythm on them changes where he's just like 3, 4, he's just doing this stuff. And you watch a video and he's just kind of walking around, he's not even like hunkering down trying to play it or gritting this. He's just like, it's just flying off his fingers, and it's just.
I think, did Buddy write that song? That's a Buddy song, isn't it? Yeah, because he did that. I have a Buddy Miles record. I'm pretty sure he did it on his thing. And I looked up and I said, oh, this is his song. It's not a Hendrix song.
Yeah, but man, the Hendrix's rhythm parts are just like, and his solos, of course, like in Machine Gun. Yeah. Halfway through Machine Gun, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps now thinking about it. There's like some solos that just goes great. But maybe, Blow by Blow, Jeff Beck was a big guitar album for me. As far as listening to music, it's probably anything Beatles in the early, Sgt. Pepper's or Revolver, Rubber Soul. Those records mean a lot to me just because again, there's just like really great songs, and and maybe it's part nostalgic for me too, because I grew up with that stuff. But Band of Gypsies, any early Allman Brothers before Dwayne died was just spectacular to me. I always liked pedal steel players because growing up in Alabama, I'd hear them, and it's a magical instrument. And I was really a big Buddy Emmons fan. I mean, I never knew. I didn't play pedal steel. I have a palm pedal on a guitar, which is this. I'll show you this really quick. This is an old Melody Maker from 1959, and it's but it's got this. I'll plug it in for a second so you can hear.
What is that?
It's called a palm pedal.
It looks like a Les Paul Jr. kind of.
Oh, it is.
Without that contraption on it.
It's a Melody Maker. It looks like a Les Paul Jr. Same shape. It's a little thinner body. And, has a humbucker pickup in it because the Melody Maker pickups kind of suck.
Did you put that pickup in there?
Yeah.
What kind of? Just a regular humbucker?
No, this is it's a humbucker.
It's what?
Shit. Sorry, I can't tune and talk at the same time.
You can tune a piano.
You can't tune a fish.
That's right.
This pickup, I think, is like what was that guy's name who made custom pickups back in 15 years ago? Like a Tom Holmes, I think was the guy's name. Anyway, but I put it in here. But the cool thing about this guitar is the big tailpiece on it. It's called a palm pedal, and what it did, like it looks like a Bigsby, and it actually was made by Bigsby. But instead of depressing the note from the fundamental tone, it pulls it up to a fixed note like a pedal steel would. Like. So I'm pressing down a lever and it goes up to a fixed pitch.
So what made you get that?
Well, because I wanted to play pedal steel, and I'm not smart enough to learn pedal steel. So it gives you this kind of sound. You can.
That's pretty cool. That was haunting, man. That was good.
You can actually get like a really nice like pedal steel simulation. So no, it's beautiful, and it's it's a 59, so it's Brazilian rosewood, and it's old. I got this guitar. I think I've traded a tone bender for it, which I probably shouldn't have done. But then I regretted getting rid of a lot of things in my life, and that was one of them. I had a 1970 tone bender that was just
what's a tone bender? What is that? A tone bender?
My secret weapon. It was made by Color Sound, this company from London, and it was like the fuzz pedal that guys like. I believe like Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page use, but it was just like the best fuzz pedal you've ever heard. It was just really full of harmonics and rich, and just it was that good sounding fuzz. I'm trying to think of a good example of
was it a big square chunky thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
This was like painted bright orange. It had a big sign that said "Hit Me" where the pedal, for the button was. Anyway, but I traded that for this guitar, and this has been like on all my records. You always hear like some slide guitar in the back.
And that's that one.
That's what this is. Yeah, I do sessions for people sometimes where I can kind of double track it and make it sound pretty close to a pedal steel.
Very cool, man.
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, it's fun. Because the sound of pedal steel is just. Of course, I'm in my pajamas, turning backwards to it. Whoops. Did you get the idea?
Yeah.
So,
hey, I'm gonna ask you a tough question.
Okay.
What do you like most about yourself?
What do I like most about myself?
Besides that guitar, that is pretty impressive.
I'm sorry, I just looked at you and realized you don't have your hair. I'm sorry.
No, I don't.
I did it on purpose.
I'm actually good with that.
It works for you.
Yeah, you know what? As long as I'm in shape, that's kind of like my thing, you know. And I'm in the gym 5 days a week, so if I'm not in shape,
I feel a lot better about myself when I'm exercising. I've tried to keep that. I play a lot of tennis, but the best thing about I don't know, maybe
it could be your hair.
is that I try to learn from my mistakes. I try to become a better person. Whenever I've messed up a lot of good relationships, and I've messed up, a lot of things in my life, and I just try to be aware of that and get better. And that's pretty much all you can ask anybody to do, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So I guess I like that about myself. I'm super critical about my playing. I take too much time off. I play a lot of tennis still, and I enjoy life. So I'm not always 6 hours practicing every day on my guitar, which maybe I should be, but
no, I think that's important, man. I wish I did that more, to be honest with you. Took some more time off.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy. How about the flip side? If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
I could change about myself. I don't know. I find myself, being selfish in little weird ways, or, and I'm always trying to change little idiosyncrasies, that we all have. I'm just trying to be a better person and I wish I had read more books when I was younger, because I love reading, but whenever I start a book, I'll get 3 chapters in and I go, man, I should be practicing my guitar. And I'll put it down and it ends up sitting next to my lamp for the next 6 months, So it's I wish I read more and I wish I was a little more worldly, even though I've been lucky enough to travel the world a lot. But I don't know if I was going to change anything. I'm pretty happy I'm happy where I am physically. I'm happy. Mentally, I've gone through a lot of weird stuff in the last few years. So I'm glad that I've come through that without being more messed up than I maybe should be. Yeah. So I have a great network of really great friends who are smart and caring people. And so I lost my daughter a couple years ago. So not to be a big downer here, but it was a big life-changing thing for me. Because I blame myself and I blamed other people, and once again, it's a life learning thing. And thank God I had the friends that I had that helped me through. So, I don't know.
I don't know if something like that is possible to happen, that you can't in some way blame yourself,
I think everyone does. Going to a few doctors and hanging out with friends who've had similar things happen. Everybody does. You always think, what could I have done differently? Sure. And at the end of the day, it's nothing. Because it was going to happen. It's going to happen. That's it. But you live from that. You learn from that, and you hopefully don't get too depressed or too strung out. Because what they did, the first thing they did with me, they gave me a lot of antidepressants, and I combined that with alcohol, which has made it really easy to sleep. But after doing that for 6 months, you end up kind of relying on it, and it numbs your whole joy for life. Yeah. So I lost out. 2017 was a kind of a big, I think I told you before, it was kind of a big blur for me. I don't remember a lot about it, even though I finished 2 CDs. I finished Fly South and this trio record called Wonderland Park with a friend of mine, just a trio thing where we just stretch out and jam. Got through all that somehow. But I think the thing is just to keep moving and keep going forward and have a strong bunch of friends around you, and realize, even Facebook, people would write me, which, Facebook, I've grown tired of, people have probably grown tired of my political rants on Facebook. But, after that happened to me, I had old friends write me and say, hey, Alan, I don't know if you remember me, but, we used to share a house back in Alabama. And, I lost both my daughters in a car accident. Things like that. And you kind of go, whoa, wow. Who am I to be feeling sorry for myself when this kind of stuff happens to everybody, So that's just, not that misery loves company that much, but it definitely makes you, the good thing about Facebook in that moment,
well, it gives you a sense that there's a future. You can get, it gives you a little optimism, I bet.
For sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I apologize, man.
That's okay. But yeah, for sure. It gives you optimism. It makes you realize that life goes on. It makes you realize that you're not the only one. And that, right when you're saying, why me? It's why not me? So.
Wow, man. Well, that's intense.
Yeah. Well,
what did you, and I hate to sound so cliched, and I know the answer isn't just, my question is,
what kind of pills did I have?
No. No.
You want to get some?
No, man. I'm pill free. My question is, what is there anything not took out of that, but is there anything, this is a life-changing thing. So how did that, outside of the conventional of, well, I want to live each day at a time, I need to, I have a great appreciation for life. Besides that, which I'm sure is all true, did anything else come of that you were able to look at it and say, like, I know when I've had crisis, and I'm not going to pretend that I've had a crisis like that, but I've had, you go through life, you're fucking 54, it ain't sunshine and roses every day. And right. I always try to look at it and say, okay, two things. One, I try to say, what can I own of this? In your situation, you can't own any of that because, you didn't contribute to that. You didn't, cause that. But I always try to look, I do that for me anyway, because I don't like feeling like a victim. And if I acknowledge my role in something, I say, well, I fucked up. Here's my role. And then this way, moving forward, I could learn from that. But the other thing I always try to do is say, okay, now what can I take away from that to make my, whatever that future remaining is, a better thing? And so my question is there anything that came of this whole thing that you were able to say, okay, here's what I'm going to do to make my future better, even though I had to deal with this, horrible thing?
Well, it's hard. There's other people who have died in my life, and I kind of wish I had reached out to them a little more before they did. As well, I guess it's the same old thing, like you were saying. There's always things you wish you would have said before they left,
Yeah.
And, so you always kind of wish you'd done things differently. I don't know. I think I don't know, because it's hard for me to like really tell what is just a memory or what is a lesson. Should I really learn from this, or was it meant to happen, or did I really fuck it? Do I really need to learn anything from this, or is it just the way life is? I don't know. It's confusing. Sometimes there's some things that I think you can't dwell on too long worrying about. Because it'll drive you nuts, it'll drive you crazy in the end. And there's some answers to things we just don't know. And I'm happy with not knowing a lot of things. I'm happy with not knowing what happens after I die. Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with that, because nobody knows. And all you can do is, try to be the best person you can and try to learn from everything. There's when my daughter passed away, there's other people I could have pointed at and maybe given the blame to as well. And I would never do that. And then, of course, you think about yourself, what you might have done differently, but you didn't. So here we are. So I don't know. It's like one of those life lessons where as soon as I start diving in too deep, it's like I realized I don't know what I'm talking about or thinking about. So I try to just accept it as part of the big picture that we have no control of, and try to make every day count, what did Warren Zevon say? He said, life's a sandwich or something like that. Anyway, I don't know. It comes through my playing. I know that emotionally, it means a lot to me now, because when I think about it and I can hear a song, or I can smell a certain flower or perfume, or little stimuli like that will like set off a memory of my daughter or the times. And that's probably more prevalent than anything. I mean, like I can have a weird dream, or I can be playing a gig someplace and I'll get a memory of her or my mother or something like that. Then it'll just like totally change my feel and the way I'm playing at the moment. So I know it comes through my playing a lot, emotionally, which is one thing I think my playing has, is that I transmit the way I'm feeling at the moment. Really, I can usually read an audience really well. When I'm playing live, I can tell when I'm connecting. It's like when you're having a conversation with somebody, they're not listening. Or as being a teacher, I know this feeling, when you're lecturing or you're to try to keep somebody's interest. And it's the same way with playing music. I can feel it when I'm playing. I can tell if the audience is with me or not. I can feel it. I can hear it. I can just sense it. There's a certain, and I've never been wrong. I've always been right by playing live. When I think it's like I can't say that. I mean, I can tell when I'm on. I can tell when the audience is with me on everything. It's like every note. It's like, and it's like a feedback that just grows and gets more powerful. And a lot of that these days, I think, comes from those losses in my life. Those it makes you look at, but maybe it's just the what everybody thinks about. Maybe it just makes you look at life and makes you realize that every day is really important and every relationship is really important. It's definitely that. I have a couple of friends with cancer now, and it's like in one way I'm kind of going, oh, that's just part of life, and it's just about, and then in the way it's really sad, and I want to make sure I say everything I want to say to them before they go.
Yeah. Are you good with that? Like, are you good about communicating stuff?
Yeah.
You are? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, even though I speak really cryptically at times, I get the sentimental.
Well, I mean, it's about you, though. It doesn't matter if it's cryptically to someone else. It's about how are you good communicate? Do you feel like you've gotten off, you've connected emotionally? That's all it's about.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I ask, because a lot of musicians, they speak better through their instrument than, verbally, for example.
Well, I think I definitely do that too. But both are really important to be able to do, of course. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, you just one day at a time. Yeah,
man, that's for sure. Thank you for sharing that, man. I really appreciate that. And I'm so sorry for your loss of your daughter, man.
Hey, man, it happens. It happens to a lot of people. That's like I was saying with the whole Facebook thing. I said, wow. Right when I was just feeling so bad for myself, like I just could never dig out of that hole. Somebody writes me their own story, and I go, shoot, it's just part of this life. The older you get, the more stuff's going to kind of happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the truth.
No one gets out alive. Just way.
Who's had the biggest influence on your life, on you, both personally and musically?
Well, musically is probably the Beatles, I would think. As far as me personally learning music, my soon to become brother-in-law back in Alabama, Jack Fitzpatrick, was a big influence. He just turned me on to like the way harmony works, and had me singing and playing chords I didn't even know what they were. But he really kind of pushed me in a really good way to even get into guitar as much as I did. I mean, I never even got into guitar until I was 18. I kind of started late, maybe 17, 18 years old. But he was a big influence on me. The Beatles, of course, just learning melodies and songs when I was a kid and being able to sing along and sing harmony parts, that was a big influential part. As life went on, I mean, there was definitely landmark moments. When I discovered Robin Ford was a big, the early Robin Ford stuff especially was big. Duane Allman, when I was a kid, Freddie King. That was huge. Texas Cannonball, that one record that he did, it was just like the songs and the singing and the playing and the intensity is like just freaking awesome. The record Blind Faith, Eric Clapton, the old Clapton stuff was great. The songwriting, Steve Winwood, Can't Find My Mountain, songs like that. And Joni Mitchell, when she started, putting her pop sensibilities with musicians like Pat Metheny and Jocko and Larry Carlton. The Hijera record was a landmark record for me. I remember listening to that record. I just wore it out. Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. There's there are a lot of big moments. Probably George Harrison, all the parts that he played. Hendrix, of course. I don't know. There's so many of them. Yeah. I couldn't say there's one or two major influences.
I've got Robin coming on the show in a few weeks. I just made a note. I'll make sure when his interview drops, I'll make sure I email it to you because you'll probably talk every now and then. He's in Nashville now. Yeah. We talked yesterday actually because I heard a cut of his Supernatural where he was playing a wah wah, and I just asked him what wah wah pedal he used. What can you say? What was it?
Yeah, no, I heard a version of it on the radio. I heard him playing a song called Supernatural, which I think is a record of his, but I think it's it might have been a live version. But I asked him what wah-wah pedal he was using because he was using his Tele that was double with some kind of wah. I just wanted to ask him what it was, and he told me it was an old Vox pedal. So we talk every now and then. Yeah. He's been really encouraging. He's always told me that my music should be heard by more people, and I think I have my music is. Robin did a kind of a smart thing years ago where he just decided he was going to be a blues guitar player, and that put him into that defined category and that large enough category where he could work the rest of his life as a blues guitar player at every festival. And, and I personally, what I like about Robin more than anything is the way he would combine like jazz with the blues. That's what first got me into him is the stuff with the Yellow Jackets and his first solo record. and Klaus Ogerman, he did like a great recording with him. That's what I really like about Robin's stuff. So he was really instrumental. And also when I went to MI, he was teaching there 1 week out of every month at MI. So I used to just skip all the classes and sit with Robin. I knew all his licks. I'd copied all his stuff from Little Feet Down on the Farm to, the stuff he did with Joni, the stuff he did with, his own stuff. And so I knew all of his licks already. So we'd just sit there and talk and, hearing him have a bad day was nice and encouraging for me. I was like, oh,
sure.
Guys, it's great to have off days and just his whole outlook on life. And he has a very wise, very, very deliberate, thoughtful approach to things. You'll hear when you interview him, he's very, if you haven't ever talked to him before, he's very, some guys like me, sometimes I just I jump out there and I just spray stuff around and I hope that I get to my point. Sometimes I speak pretty cryptically. Robin is more, he reminds me of Jeff Buckley in the sense that he's very thoughtful and very articulate and kind of can spell out the stuff really in a concise way.
I'll tell you a nice Robin Ford story. We had an appointment scheduled and they had to cancel it because there was something going on. And I wasn't dealing with Robin. I was dealing with his guy. And then we had another appointment and he canceled and this guy said, leave me a message. I'm really sorry. I'm embarrassed to tell you this. And he goes, but Robin's going to call you and apologize. I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm going to hold my breath. So 5 minutes later, I think I was in the shower or something. I get out and I'm looking at hey, Craig, this is Robin Ford. Just give me a call when you get a chance. And he was so cool. I called him up and he's like, hey man, I just really want to apologize. I'm looking forward to coming on your show. And I apologize that we had to cancel a second time and let's nail down a date now. That was
Robin has always been really, really approachable.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a little wary of people sometimes. So he comes off as a little aloof at times to some people. Cause I know some people have told me that about him, but he's really, I think he's just like, just over the years, a little wary of people's intentions for them. But, there's some guys, I know a lot of the guitar players in this town, and some of them are harder to get to know than other ones, and he's one of the nicest guys. I also, Lee Ritenour was totally the nicest guy in the world. Lee Ritenour, Lee was not a huge influence on my playing. Of course I grew up listening to all his Captain Fingers and all the stuff he did with everybody on the records, Steely Dan. And whenever I saw his name, I'd buy it, of course. But he was never that much of I never wanted to sound like him that much, but, where I was more into Larry Carlton at the time or Holdsworth but I've kind of gotten to know Lee a little bit through the years, and he's totally nicest guy in the world. Lee Ritenour is wonderful. And Robin's good like that too. I was going to tell you who wasn't, but I won't go there.
Tell me afterwards and make sure I'll avoid him. Hey, do you have any non-musical superpowers?
Superpowers?
Yeah.
On my good days on the tennis court.
Oh, you're a monster then, huh?
Well, no, but I'm probably a 4.5 or a 5.0 playing, which is a pretty high level. And I love it. And on the good days when you're playing great, nothing feels better than like just physically connecting with that backhand down the line is like a wonderful feel, or acing a serve, in a big match, it's a great feeling. Superpower, I guess that's not really a superpower.
Could be.
I think if anything, it's like, I follow politics a lot. I really love, there's some role models. I used to watch these videotapes of John Kennedy. I thought he was just an amazing brain and smart guy and compassionate, even though he had all the money and could have been like a egomaniac who just walled himself off from everybody and only cared about himself. He was like totally compassionate for other people and empathetic and read every book in the world, I appreciate people who are smart and kind. That's like goes a long way in my book, and not stuck on themselves. So those are role models. Superpowers, I don't know. I would like to think that I'm very empathetic and I care for things that mean stuff to other people, and I have a lot of compassion and try to do right and when I can make a difference. I don't know.
No, that's cool.
Make any sense?
No, it makes a ton of sense, man. It was not cryptic.
You can edit all that out.
No, it was good. I don't need to edit anything. It was not cryptic. Two more questions, Alan.
Yeah.
what are you looking forward to in the future, either musically or personally?
Well, musically, I'm kind of trying to decide which way to go with my next CD. If you've listened to my CDs, they're kind of all over the place. I mean, there's kind of one fusion song, then there's like a blues song, then there's like a pop song almost. I don't know. I'm trying to decide whether I should go really heavy harmonically. I'd like to do something.
So you're not going to have that variety. You're going to have more of a consistent theme or genre.
Well, I don't. I think I'm not really sure. I'm trying to decide right now what I'm going to do. It's going to be either a combo of both, or either more bluesy, heartfelt stuff with slide guitar, or more harmonic stuff. Because nobody's really ever heard me play over like harmonically difficult stuff. I mean, my music is a little bit of modal stuff here and there, but it's nothing like Scott Henderson or Alan Holdsworth. And I like that stuff every now and then. I like a challenge to myself. So I don't know. I know I've got about 100 songs on my iPad.
Shit.
Well, I mean, they're just, I shouldn't say 100 songs. I have more than that of ideas that I think are all good ideas. You know, whenever I wake up in the middle of the night and I'll record, if I have an idea, I'll sing it into my phone, or I'll grab a guitar next to the bed and try to play it. So I don't lose it. And I've got a lot of like real catchy little ideas that
you got those backed up, I hope.
Yeah. I've already copied the ones on my iPad over to my computer. So, those are ideas. I mean, so I don't know, but I may try to focus more on slide guitar. I'll just see what happens, because in the musical process, it's just kind of, you start something and you see where it comes out. I'm going to do something with Dean Brown, I think, and so some of my ideas may go towards the project with him. I'm going to be touring a lot this fall in South Africa and Italy and Holland and Norway and stuff. So I'm going to try to get some new music before then to have. Personally, I mean, I don't know. I'm getting older. It'd be nice to settle down with somebody, but I still like having my time off with my cats. If I ever do settle down with anybody, I'm sure I'll have my own place and my own space where I can kind of hide away, my solitude to an extent. I'd like to buy a house, like I was saying, back in Alabama, someplace in the country. It'd be nice to have. That's a goal of mine in my personal life, is to be able to afford a little place out in the woods someplace that nobody can find me. That'd be a nice escape, and keep my place here in Los Angeles. I don't know. I think I might, career-wise, I'm trying to get to that next level. I'm trying to find probably not a manager, maybe an agent who just believes in my stuff enough. My band totally kicks ass on the weekends at Baked Potato once a month, and I want to get that band over to Europe. I want to get that band. That's Maxine singing with me, Maxine Lewis, and
it is okay.
Travis Carlton, Larry Carlton's son, plays bass, and Donald Barrett's a great drummer, and Matt Rohde. These are, I think, they're just great guys and great players, and it's a different level of good when we all play together. We stretch out, and everybody takes long solos, and I've seen a lot of jam bands in my life, from the Allman Brothers to Derek Trucks to Bonamassa or whatever, and they haven't got anything on this band. This band just kicks holy butt, because they're all bring more. They're not just a good blues player, just a capable player. Matt Rohde can play anything, whether it's classical stuff or pop, and he played with Jane's Addiction for a while, and he played with Alanis Morissette, and then he does the music for The Voice. He's like works on The Voice and finds talent and rehearses those guys backstage. So it's a strong band. And if you see us live, you'll understand. So that's my goal, is to find an agent that believes in this band enough to take me around to the festivals and play and get our stuff out there.
That would be great. And just so people know, the Baked Potato is the place where, the top echelon of players get to play, and then you get a residency there once a month. I mean, it's like this is like marquee guys only.
Yeah, well, the history, Baked Potato started back in the 70s, and the early bands that played there were like Larry Carlton and Robin Ford and Toto. Toto used to play there all the time. The guy, that was like where they cut their teeth playing. The Baked Potato was where you played, and it's a small place, holds 100 people or whatever. It's just a little square room, but it just sounds great in there, and the vibe is great, and the sound system they got dialed in, and it's just a really cool vibe, and you feel real. I love that. That's my favorite thing, is to have an audience sitting, 5 feet from me, who's listening to everything that the band does, because like I say, they can sense it, and then you feed off of that. But yeah, that's a great little venue. If you've never been there and you come to Los Angeles, go there. They have a lot of rock there now. It's not just jazz or fusion like it used to be. They have a little bit of everything. But you know, Scott Henderson will be there one night, and you know, Josh Smith will be there the next night. And
Jamie, you know Jamie Kime?
Jamie Kime? Sure.
Yeah, I got him coming on the show. He's a super sweet guy, man. Really,
yeah, he is.
Really nice guy. It's has that been the same owner since the 70s, since it opened up? It has. Yeah. Wow. Yeah,
Don Randy he was actually a piano player in the old Wrecking Crew, which was the big studio ensemble.
Yeah.
Who played
Tommy
on
Tedesco and
that's right. Glenn Campbell,
Carol Kay.
Wow. Hal Blaine, and Justin Randy was like one of the original keyboard players, and he still plays right now. I'm sorry, Don Randy. His son Justin manages it now, and Justin is like the guy who keeps us all going there. But he plays bartender some night, but he kind of runs the club now for his dad.
That's really cool, man.
Oh, it's a great place, and it's fun. So yeah, goals: keep playing, see what the next record comes out. Try to be a better person, improve my serve. You know, I'm always trying to be better at everything I do.
That's good, man. That's awesome. That's the way to do it. Hey, last question, Alan, and I can't thank you enough for everything, man. It's been real nice talking to you and getting to know you. What's been the biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that change has been intentional and deliberate, or how much has just been a natural part of aging?
Wow. Well, hopefully it's a natural part of aging. I mean, I think I've looked at myself and I've realized what's important. And that's probably a natural, I would hope it's a natural thing of aging. I mean, some people probably live in bubbles. They never really have to do any self-inspection, you know. Yeah, I try to constantly give myself a checkup from the neck up, as they say, you know, just to kind of make sure everything's on. And, you know, teaching a lot, doing the master classes around the world, like I've had a chance to do, you know, it helps you kind of solidify your base of what you believe about everything musically. You know, you have to explain things in layman's terms, or explain kind of hard concepts to people, and you want them to get it and have fun getting it. You know, you learn a lot about yourself when you have to open up. It's like, you know, explaining what makes you tick. And having to do that, the older I get, the more success I've had with my own solo stuff, the more I get a chance to do that. And that's so over the last 10 years, I've probably simplified things and weeded out what's important and what's not important. And probably 50% of that is natural aging, and 50% of that is that just me being aware and wanting to make changes for the better before I leave. You know, so
before I leave,
yeah, you know, it's not so much. I don't really care about
before I leave. I never heard it put like that. Before
I guess it's nice to know I've left a, you know, where I do go. I've already done my CD. I've left a mark and I've affected people's lives, and that feels great. And so I guess I want to do more of that. And I've come to realize what makes me happy is not being able to play the most complicated thing in the world, but being able to play the simplest things. Yeah, I think relating with people on a simple level, whether one-on-one or musically, you know, whether you're holding a guitar or not, is what's really I've learned to be better at, I think.
Man, well, I've certainly enjoyed this conversation, so you're doing a great job as far as I'm concerned. I really, really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for sharing everything. I want to tell people where to find you. First of all, it's Alan Hinds, ALLENHINDS. If you have not heard him play, please go check him out. Support his music. He's a brilliant guitar player. I mean, just a really very talented human being, and he's influenced literally thousands upon thousands of guitarists who've crossed through MI. What your master classes is information about when you're doing those and where you're doing those. Is that on your website?
Usually, I mean, I'm doing my own website, so that has a tendency to not always be up to date because I'm just kind of lazy and I forget. But usually I put it on my website. When I'm going to do a tour with somebody, I'll usually post that, the dates. Master classes, I mean, I'm always for hire. If somebody wants to, I went to Thailand a few months ago just to do 2 classes and came back. So I get hired every now and then just to kind of fly someplace and teach. And I just talk about all this stuff. I break it down into, I try to teach guitar from a total non-book Mel Bay approach because there's so many books that do the same thing and, kind of try to simplify a guitar into different patterns. And I find that really boring and and limiting. So I try to, expose the students to being creative and working on motifs and writing and following their instincts more than following some rote pattern of a scale someplace. That's the last thing I want to do. I could sit there, I could probably take out 5 hours just showing them the different positions where I play melodic minor. But that's totally not where my master classes go. They totally, I try to get inside of students' heads and make them more creative by taking the things that they do well and learning how to run with them. A lot of students don't know how to, transcribing one small lick and how to learn how to play that in 10 different places, or how to connect that to other ideas, or how to change keys with that same idea. So those are things I kind of concentrate on, and believing in yourself and working with others. I talk about a lot of that stuff in my master classes. I don't really talk about this or that scale. I talk more about, how you can kind of program yourself to not waste time when you're practicing. That's really what it's about. It's about making the most out of what you have. Learning how to be creative is more what it's as opposed to playing guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I hear you. And is that stuff when you do that? Is that on Facebook, on your Facebook page?
No,
maybe?
I've never gone through and to filter out what's on YouTube or Facebook and stuff. I know there's like little blurbs here and there of parts of my master classes and parts of my gigs. And some guys, again, it was like Scott Henderson's a friend of mine, and he'll go through and he takes on anything if he doesn't think it's like his best performance. And I totally don't have the time for that. I just kind of let it go. It's like, if I sucked one moment, I sucked, please, hopefully,
it's like,
hopefully people will see enough of the good in it to stick with it, to see the shiny moments. But,
it's not realistic either to have a body of work and it's all, it's not statistically possible for anyone.
Yeah.
Even a great cigar, you're going to get a dud once in a while in the box.
Yeah, so I know there's a lot of stuff out there, and I don't honestly, I never even look at it, but I think I've seen some stuff people post on Facebook of parts of my master class.
I'm sorry. I meant
the same stuff on the True Fire stuff. I talk a lot about the same stuff as I talk about during the master classes, but it's always changing. When my life changes and I learn a different way on how to practice or how to approach things, then I turn that into something on my master class. So hopefully it evolves as well as I do.
Awesome. Let me tell people where to get a hold of you. First of all, you mentioned True Fire, and that's what I wanted to talk about. Alan's got, how many classes do you have on True Fire?
Just one. I think they broke it up in those. I don't really know how they're marketing, but I went down there for one shoot.
Okay.
But I did. I've done this for a long time, and I talk a lot, and I can start going. So and down there, I remember when I went down there, flying down to Florida to do True Fire, I came down with like the worst flu ever. I was so sick. So it was one of those kind of like surreal days where I was like so torqued up on cold medicine and coffee that I'm not even sure if I made any sense or not. But I got through it. But I kind of went into automatic pilot where I've done master classes so much that I talk about these things like we were just talking about. And I think they were pretty impressed. I kind of got through a lot of information in just one day. So the second, we mostly just did like photo shoots and stuff, and little intros and outros. But it was one shoot. They may have broken it apart into several different things. I don't know really how they're marketing it, because I don't really look at my stuff after I've done it.
I hear you. So check out True Fire for Alan Hinds courses. Go to alanhinds.com. Again, it's ALLENHINDS.com. Alan will be in Europe in the fall, and he's going to be in South Africa after that with Randy Crawford. He's also you can buy some courses of his on guitarbreakdown.com. And also, I didn't realize this, but he actually gives Skype lessons. And if you're interested in getting a Skype lesson from a literal guitar genius.
Well, the weird thing about Skype is you really can't play with anybody one-on-one, but you can see what I can usually sense. And like, if I hear them play for 30 seconds, I can usually tell what the problems are, and we can talk about that. But the Skype lessons work out pretty good for me. I think everybody's been pretty happy with them. And and I give students a lot to work on for the next time. So yeah, it's kind of weird that you can't really. It's not like sitting down with somebody and jamming with them.
Right.
But I can still hear them go. I can hear them play, and I usually can offer some clear advice, hopefully.
Awesome. And if you're interested in a Skype lesson, go to alanhinds.com and submit on the contact form, and Alan will get back with you. Man, I can't thank you enough for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Craig,
for sharing.
It's very cool. And I always like doing this stuff.
Cool.
It's nice to meet you too.
Likewise, man. Any famous or final words of wisdom?
Boy, I wish I had the key. I wish I had the one comment that would just set everybody free. And it's just,
set everybody free. I like that.
Think you've got to live your life. I think everything is connected, and the way you live your life, it shows in your playing. So I think being the best person you can be has a lot to do with the way you sound, the way you play, and the way you affect other people. I'm a big believer in that. So just do some self-inspection from time to time, and try to look at yourself from a bird's eye point of view, and try to make it better all the time. I don't know. It's like a stupid quote from Spinal Tap.
Check up from the neck up.
Person you can be all the
time. World peace.
Yes. Right.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. You're welcome. It's been my pleasure. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Thanks again to Alan Hinds. Go support Alan and check out his music. Listen to it. Buy his CDs. And he's got another one coming out real soon. Check it out. He's a great player. Go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up and get on our newsletter. And remember, most important, happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love. Thanks for listening, and I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.